Okay, you're working from home, telecommuting, or whatever this new normal is. But what if you only have one computer? Your business and personal stuff's all jumbled together, and it's hard to manage it all. Well, you can log in and log out of your system with different accounts, but since most of your work is online, there's an easier way. You can keep your website login IDs and passwords, history, favorites, and even your startup pages separate by creating Edge Chromium profiles for each one of your personal and business needs. No more wading through tons of Reddit history just to find the business link that you needed to get back to. So here's how to create those separate profiles, copy what information you need, and then trim out the excess so you can just focus on what you need. And by the way, I'll even show you how to pin each profile to your taskbar with a different user icon, so switching between them is a breeze. So hang in there, it should be worth it. Now to create a separate profile, all you have to do is go over here to the three ellipses in the top right corner, come down to settings, click on it, and you'll see a profile screen here. Now I already have three set up, but you'll have one profile here, and all you have to do is click on this add profile button at the very top. And as soon as you click on it, it'll give you a little prompt, and it'll tell you exactly what's going on, that you can continue to create a separate profile. So all you have to do to create the account is click on the add button. But before it does that, it's going to try to encourage you to sync. Now, if you're only going to use it on this one device, you don't care. So all you have to do is create it. Plus, we can set up syncing later. And ignore this manage favorites up here. We're going to do that later as well. So after you go ahead and confirm that, you're going to see a new account list. Now, I already have several ones here, but you're going to see a new one called Profile 1 right here in the top. Now, to keep this straight in your own mind, you can change the name of that. Just simply click on the three dots up here, and you're going to go up here and click on the edit button right there. So just follow the prompts to change the name of the profile. You can also delete it, but it'll delete all the information that you've already done on this, so be careful. It'll even warn you that if you've already set up some of this stuff, they'll disappear if you say delete. Okay, now that we've created a new account, we're going to talk about how to set up each section independently so that your different profiles do different things. So it's just a matter of going to each one. So we click on passwords down here, and you'll see that the usual settings are here. You can set up to sync passwords, to do all different kind of things, sign in automatically, whatever you want. Now remember though, under security, it doesn't make a difference. This is not independent. This is all going to be the same no matter what account you're in. But as we move on to appearance, you'll see here that we can customize the appearance, the toolbars, the home page button, all that stuff per account. Same thing for the startup pages. You can set up a set of startup pages for each profile. So when you click on that profile, those pages will come up. The customizing of the new tab page is the same. You can set it up for each one. But you'll have to go through each one of the new tab screens to customize or use one of the default new tab settings. And then I'm going to skip to the downloads directory here so you can set up each different profile to download to a different one, either automatically or to a specific location. So now we are back here, and we're going to go down to the most important thing you're going to do, and that's the import browser data and how you do that. This is going to allow you to import all the history, all the websites and passwords, all the different things. I'm going to use this dialog box here to do it. Now be careful before you click on confirm, because up here is a drop down and you can import from different places. And you'll notice here there's the old Edge, the Internet Explorer, Google, Firefox, and your own file. So let's talk about that for a second. Now I'm going to cover importing it directly from one of these and all the different check marks you see below. Doing the file separately can create its own problem. So let's try and do it by checking all the check marks you want. By the way, you can scroll down and you'll see a couple more options down here. And one more thing you should be aware of, going back up to the options here, is that it's got a little warning right here next to passwords. If you've been using this account and the account you're going to import from has older passwords, they will overwrite your new password, so be careful. Now, believe it or not, you can pin each individual profile to your taskbar down here. If you look over here, I have Edge here, and I'm going to pin some more down next to those. Now to do that, I'm going to go over to the Start menu and I'm going to go find Microsoft Edge there. Now you can use the Microsoft Edge. I'm using the dev version, so I'm using one differently. But just go over here, find your installation of Microsoft Edge Chromium, and it's going to come up with whatever last profile you had active. In this case for me, it's my Atari Geek profile. So now I want to pin this to the taskbar. So to do this, I have to go down to the icon that's showing it running in the taskbar. The application is running. If I go down there and I right click on it, okay, and there's a pin to taskbar. It didn't look like it did anything, but if I close that, you'll see it's still there. So now that it's a taskbar shortcut, I can just click on it and that will open up whatever one you had highlighted. Then you use your drop down here in the top one to launch a new version of it. It'll open up a new window with the other profile. This one being my old guy Geek. And now if I go down to the bottom, you'll see that there's one down there. And so I'll do the same thing I did for the Atari is I'm going to go down here, right click on it and say pin to taskbar, and it will create one there. And then again, after I'm done, I still have to close it again. So let's do that. And it remains down there with now 2 links. So now here's my toolbar. I have 4 because I have a business, a personal, and 2 YouTube ones. So I'm just going to drag these over here on the taskbar to wherever I want them so I can keep them separate, or at least close together, or wherever you want. Now before I get into how you do it, I wanted to talk about what are the advantages. And these are the 4 main advantages of having separate profiles. You'll actually end up with separate favorites, histories, passwords, startup tabs, and others. So let's take a look at each. Now, as you can see here are my favorites. They're completely different. Now, I started off with that long list on the right, but after I copied it, I culled it down for the other one. We'll talk about how to do that. All you have to do here is click on the little boxes next to each one, and you can hit the delete button. And you can do more than one at a time. You can click on one or more of these to decide which one. So after you have your long list imported, simply click on the ones that you want to delete and then click on the delete button, and you'll trim out maybe your business out of your personal and be left with just with the ones you want. Now the same thing goes for history. If we take a look at the history of these 2 accounts, you'll see that again they're completely different. And that's important when you're trying to find something you were working on earlier when you're working on business versus personal. You won't have to wade through that long list of items that are personal items when you're looking for that one business link that you visited 2 days ago. Again, here we do the same thing. We simply find out which ones we want and click on them individually. Or you can hit the Shift key and click on them and it'll highlight all of them. And you can hit the delete key then. You can also, just like in the Windows Explorer, you can do a Control key and add 1 or more on your list for deletion. And it may end up looking something like this, where you want to delete these particular ones. Now moving on to passwords, if we go to passwords, they're a little bit different than favorites and history. If you look at these 2 lists here, I've already culled them down a little bit to where they're different. But with passwords, there's no checkbox. You have to click on the link over here in the corner and then decide if you want to delete it or not. And you simply have to go down the list. There is another way to do a mass delete, but you'll have to re-enter your passwords for each site you want to go to. The good news is that you don't need a separate list. You can actually export all your passwords by clicking here and saying export passwords. You can do that to a separate file. Now, they'll be visible on your hard drive, so be aware of that. So we put in our OK to get into this account here, and it's going to tell you export it. So then I'll have a copy I can refer to when I go back to a website and need the password. So then all I have to do is get out of this and go over here to delete my browser history. If you go down here to browser data, okay, come down here and select passwords and they'll be all cleared out. And that way when you go to a website, it's going to ask you for the account name and password. But don't forget, you just save them to a CSV file that you can take a look at in a text editor or Excel and look up that username and password for that particular site. And then you can, until you got them all restored back in this different profile. And the last major benefit is startup tabs. You can configure your startup behavior on both profiles or any profiles to be different. And you can see here when we look at the two different profiles that are being displayed here that their settings on the right, there's a lot more tabs than there are on the left. So there you have it, how to set up multiple profiles under Edge. So you can have separate favorites, history, passwords, startup tabs, the whole bit, so it makes it a lot less confusing using separate profiles. Hey, if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like this video. And if you want to get more, just subscribe to Old Guy Geek. You can also follow me at Facebook or Twitter. The links to those are in the description of this video.